I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Ngunnawal people, traditional custodians from the land on which we are presenting today. I extend that respect to leaders past, present, and emerging. I also extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who may be listening today. Hello, my name is Kate Yaxley, and I am a researcher at the University of New South Wales, Canberra. I'm here today to talk about our research on sky shepherds, and in particular, dogs versus drones, a body of research that was conducted in 2021. Shown on the screen here are the number of collaborators who are supporting and to understand the relationship between sheep, dogs, and drones. These researchers are experts in their field, including artificial intelligence, trusted autonomy relationships, test and evaluation, sheep behaviour, and agricultural sector. We have been supported by both postgraduate and undergraduate students throughout Sky Shepherds. In particular, these people who you see on the screen here are the ones who are responsible for making the 2021 experiments happen. Sky Shepherds research considers the entire system. That is, the interaction between the sky shepherd, the sheep, or the swarm or mob, who we are investigating their behaviour, all the way to the farmer, and how we may support them in developing meaningful human autonomy teaming to support the shepherding or mustering problem. In 2019, we conducted a series of screening tests where we sought to understand what the potential impacts would be of introducing a drone into the farmer system. What we were looking at was, could a commercial drone actually influence a flock to both collect and then move as a mob? During this experiment, we used high throughput testing so that we only had to do 18 tests. The test considered both the drone emitting and not emitting a sound. The outcomes were that to ensure that the sheep could correctly sense the drone, sound needed to be emitted, or more accurately, the drone needed to be able to be perceived by the sheep so that they could understand where the influence was coming from. Using this information, we reconvened and made sure that we could build our own first Sky Shepherd. So I'd like to hand over now to Casper Kenworthy.
Hi there, my name's Casper Kenworthy. I was an honours student at UNSW Canberra from 2020 to 2021, where my honours project made up part of the Sky Shepherd project. When I started on the Sky Shepherd project, it became clear to us that we had to design a new sky shepherding drone from the ground up for our purpose. So my first task was to find an appropriate frame to base the Sky Shepherd off, and then we started doing our own upgrades to the actual off-the-shelf package. So firstly, we added some telemetry to allow us to have autonomous missions on the drone if we needed, and have some pilot aids and assistance that you would normally find on your commercial drones, such as the DJI we were using in the previous tests. Then we also had upgraded motors and an upgraded battery to support additional payloads in the future and also increase our flight times. We redesigned a few items on the frames to withstand some of the rough work that it might be encountering on the farm. And then we also added an FPV video system to the drone to allow the pilots to better control the drone. To develop the Sky Shepherd herding manoeuvres, we went back to basics. We looked at some sheepdog trial manoeuvres and adapted those to the 3D manoeuvre capabilities that the Sky Shepherd has. We also informed our approach to this using the screening from the previous test to see how a sheep was influenced by a drone. The first manoeuvre that we developed for the Sky Shepherd was the lifting manoeuvre. This is when the drone moves behind the point of balance of the mob and keeps moving until the mob has been lifted or begins to move. This was conducted using the Sky Shepherd by approaching at a straight and level flight at a low speed until the sheep recognized the influence of the drone and began to move themselves. We then halted the lifting maneuver and waited till we could transfer into a secondary manoeuvre. The second movement that we developed for the Sky Shepherd project was the flanking manoeuvre. This is when the drone orbits around the mob of the sheep at a constant speed and distance. This manoeuvre was used at the end of the runs to hold the sheep, or throughout the experiment if control of the mob was lost and was used to regain control of the mob. The third manoeuvre that we developed in the Sky Shepherd project was the driving manoeuvre. This was the most used manoeuvre throughout the experiments. This manoeuvre involved moving behind the sheep in a side-to-side manner, imparting the influence of the drone onto the mob to move them in a controlled manner from point A to point B. Throughout the manoeuvre, we could also impart more influence on the mob should they slow down by flaring the blades of the drone backwards. This is very similar to a sheepdog that would impart more influence onto the mob. One aspect where the 3D movement capabilities of the Sky Shepherd drone could be utilised over the 2D capabilities of a traditional sheepdog was in obstacle manoeuvres. For example, in some of our tests, we had an obstacle in the paddock where the drone could move over the top of the obstacle to coerce the sheep through the obstacle or round them through properly, whereas traditionally the dog would not be able to go around or over the obstacle such as the Sky Shepherd would. Another example of these obstacle manoeuvres would be lifting the sheep from the other side of a fence if they got stuck in the corner of a paddock, where a traditional dog would have to squeeze them out of that corner of the fence. An important takeaway from this project is that while I'm not a farmer, I've been able to develop some bespoke herding manoeuvres that can be utilised by someone with very little piloting experience and sheep herding experience to successfully move a mob of sheep from point A to point B through a gate with similar welfare outcomes to that of a traditional sheepdog.
So with that, what we did find during our experiments was that while we could use Sky Shepherd to effectively muster sheep from point A to point B, like Casper has just said, the welfare outcomes and the stress on the sheep were not significantly lower than that of a sheepdog. So what we're saying is that Sky Shepherd or a drone of similar capability could be used to support a farmer in achieving the outcomes, but will definitely not replace the role or importance of what the sheepdog can offer to the entire farming and herding system. Thank you so much.